Hey y'all, Garrett here from the Music Zoo with Mike from Taylor Guitars. He's taken some time to visit us to educate us a bit about the T5z today. Thanks for coming out, Mike. What can you tell us?
Well, first off, my pleasure being here at the Music Zoo with you, Garrett. Yeah, I'd love to tell everybody about the T5z, but I can't tell the T5z story without talking about the original T5. Now, the T5 and T5z are similar in some ways, very different in others. But the T5, the original embryonic version of the T5z, came out in 2005. And it was meant to be an acoustic-electric hybrid guitar where you can get electric sounds and acoustic sounds all out of one guitar. So if you're playing in a wedding band or a cover band, or especially like an 80s cover band that plays Wanted Dead or Alive, you can play the acoustic intro and then like do the blasting Richie Sambora solo,
right,
and then go back to the acoustic outro all on one guitar, just by switching amplifiers or incorporating pedal effects. So the T5 came out in 2005, and it actually won Electric Guitar of the Year and Acoustic Guitar of the Year. It actually won both awards because of its innovations. And why? Well, it's because of the unique electronics that are in those guitars. The T5 and T5z share the same functionality. And what that means is that it has 3 pickups in both of those models. You only see one, though. You see this one right down here by the bridge. This is actually a stacked single coil humbucker. It actually has an active coil and a dummy coil to reduce noise. But then, like our original ES system in our Taylor acoustic guitars, it has an under the fingerboard pickup, and it also has a body sensor down here. So that more emulates our ES1 system.
Right, and that's a magnetic pickup in the neck,
Magnetic
correct?
in the neck, and then a sensor adhered to the top.
Right.
And now the name T means thin line, and 5 for 5-way switch. The Z is for zippy. I don't exactly know why we call it T5Z, except for the fact that it's special. I like that. That works. But the 5 means the 5-way switch, which we have right here. Now, every time you switch, you're getting a different pickup combination. So in the first setting, all the way heading towards the headstock, all right, setting number 1, when we're in that position, we have both the under the fingerboard extension pickup and the body sensor. Now again, as I explained, that's like our ES1 system.
Right.
So that's going to give you your most acoustic sound. Okay. Everything else, 2 through 5, is going to incorporate electric sounds.
Right.
And that body sensor will not be used again. So the body sensor is only used on the first setting, giving you the most acoustic sound.
Which is closest to the neck.
Exactly. All the way pointing towards the headstock the most, setting number 1. Setting number 2, well, now it's just going to be this pickup that's underneath the fingerboard extension. Now, when you have the pickup that you use on, say, a Strat that's closest to the neck, what kind of sound do you get out of it?
The most full sound, I think.
Full,
in a Strat,
round,
right?
warm, right?
Yep. Robust, even.
Robust. These are all great adjectives, and they're all very accurate. Well, that's the same sound you're going to get out of a T5 or a T5Z on that second setting. That's that neck pickup, so it's going to give you that warm, round, Strat-esque tone. If we go to setting 3, now we're dead center, well, now that's going to bring in that single coil humbucker, all right? Now, if you had a bridge pickup on a Telly, what kind of sounds do you get out of that?
Like a little more, I guess, pokey or stabby, bright, right?
Twangy.
Twangy,
yeah. Like that kind of almost quacky kind of thing, right? That's exactly what you're going to get out of a T5 or T5Z in position 3.
I see.
So it's more of that bridge pickup, single coil bridge pickup like you would find on a Telecaster.
And again, that's just this pickup.
That's just this pickup, all right? No other pickups are being incorporated at that point. Now, settings 4 and 5 are interesting. 4 and 5 incorporate both that fingerboard extension pickup and the bridge pickup, but in different configurations. 4, they run in parallel, and 5, they run in series. Now, how do I remember that? Well, P and a 4 kind of look a little bit alike, and S and a 5 look a little bit alike, so P4 parallel, S5 series.
I see.
So maybe you can help explain, because you're better at this than I am, what's the difference between pickups running in parallel and pickups running in series?
Well, I might be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's parallel is both of the pickups being fed to the output and they don't interact with one another, and then series is one pickup feeding, like cascading into the next pickup and going out.
Exactly.
Which is a higher output, a hotter pickup, right?
100%. So yeah, so parallel, they're feeding out at the same time. Series, one is feeding into the other, or staging into the other pickup, heating it up, giving it more of a crunchy tone, if you will, for those that are looking for that kind of sound. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get, just from the pickup configurations alone, you're going to get everything from Strats, Tellys, Les Pauls, jazz boxes, whatever you're looking for as far as tonality out of one guitar. And that's in addition to the acoustic sound that you get on setting one, going all the way back.
There,
So you have a variety of pickup tonality that you can get out of it, but then you could shape it even further with the EQ.
Right.
So the EQ on a T5Z, we have volume, we have treble, and we have bass. With treble and bass, you're either getting a boost or a cut, as opposed to 0 to 10, where it just sort of maxes out. Right.
Or it just cuts the tone as you roll it back, like on a normal, boring old electric guitar.
Yes. Nothing boring about electric guitars, though, right? We are an acoustic guitar company, but these are pretty electric. So the great thing about that is that, especially on the acoustic setting, if you wanted to get more of a rosewood tone out of your acoustic setting, well, you would boost your treble and your bass.
Right.
Because then, if we look at the scoop of rosewood, has that scoop in the mids. But say you wanted more of a mahogany, well, you would lower bass and treble below that detent, and now you're getting that mid-range push.
Right.
If you wanted maple, well, you just crank your treble, you lower your bass, and then you have that disparate shelf. So you can tone shape with the system that's in here and get a whole bunch of different sounds while playing around with all the different pickup combinations. Now, T5 versus T5Z, the T5 was meant to be an acoustic electric guitar that fed to the acoustic guitar player. It's supposed to be very familiar feeling to them. So what did that mean? Well, that meant that the fingerboard had medium frets, a medium height fret, and it was a 15-inch radius, the curvature of the fingerboard, a 15-inch radius, much like our acoustic guitar. So it had more of that acoustic guitar feel overall. And the body is a little bit bigger on a T5. It's about an inch bigger all the way around. Again, a bigger body, feeling more like an acoustic guitar. T5Z, which is what these are, and this is what we've been working with ever since about 2014, it's a bit different. It's more for the electric guitar player as far as feel. So the fingerboard has a taller fret, it has a jumbo fret, and it has a 12-inch radius. So it's going to feel more like an electric guitar, especially when you're doing all those, all those big bends and such. It feels way more familiar to you. And then we took off about an inch around the entire body, making more of a familiar single cut shape, if you will. Let's just call it what it is. It's more like a Les Paul style guitar in that regard. Except
as far as like the profile of it.
As far as the profile of it. But this guitar is completely hollow. We could take this top off and you could put it on your table and fill it with, peanuts.
Sand.
Well, all right. If you want to put sand on it in your house, that's perfectly okay. I would probably put candy or things of that nature. So, but don't go to Garrett's house because
I'm just going to feed you sand.
Yeah, it's not fun. But the great part about it is that because it has that hollow aspect to it, it's easy to access your electronics if you ever need to do any work on it. It does work off a 9-volt battery right back here. And strangely enough, it doesn't feedback like crazy. So, and that's part and parcel of the ingenuity of the electronics in these guitars. So you're getting a very familiar feeling guitar with a bunch of different tones that sound like a lot of your other guitars in your collection. And especially, like I said, if you're in a wedding band, if you're in a cover band, if you're playing with your worship group, where you need to have a bunch of different guitars or different sounds at the ready, you only need one guitar to do that. Maybe two if you had a backup.
In case something goes awry.
Exactly. So that's the general idea behind the T5 and T5Z. Again, both of them share the same functionality, but the T5Z is going to be a bit smaller, a little more familiar for the electric guitar player, and just, I guess, maybe look more right from that regard too. As far as how you would use this, you could put this through electric amps, acoustic amps, use it with pedals, however you would like. The way that I would recommend doing it, have an AB box. So you have come out of your guitar into the AB box, A going into an acoustic amp, B going to an electric amp with a bunch of pedals. Actually, you can go through the acoustic amp with a bunch of pedals too if you want to saturate it with reverb or delay or what have you and have a lot of fun with it. Exactly. But I would do AB in that regard, and that way you can have your acoustic setting, hit A, strum acoustically, go into the big bombastic solo.
Right.
So you switch over to B for that, come back in.
Yep.
Or the other option to do it is A, B, where A goes directly to the PA.
Right.
And comes out of
super
the main
clean.
speaker through. Exactly. Super clean. Your sound guy can work with you on that one and EQ it from that end of it. And then B, again, goes through the amplifier. Same concept.
Now, with the system here, correct me if I'm wrong, but the detent on the volume is a line level signal output, no?
Well, sort of, yeah. I mean, at zero, it's actually at 10.
10, right.
And then you get a 6 decibel boost.
So you can actually, if you're going through like a tube amp or something like that, you can use your volume to give yourself a little bit of a boost if need be, to maybe push the preamp a little harder, make the tubes cook.
Or if you don't get along with your sound guy, you just
torture
leave
them.
it at 10 and you're like, yeah, I've maxed it out.
that's
And
it.
give yourself a little extra headroom if you need.
Yeah.
So we want that little extra boost.
Yep.
So that's what you can do with that volume control. You put it at that center detent, you can call that 10, then you have 6 decibel boost beyond that.
Right. And even with the EQ too, I feel like you can almost do some kind of tricks with that, where if you roll both back, it's pure mid, and then you can boost it a little bit, almost get like a cocked wah-wah sound or something along
Exactly,
those lines, I feel like, you know?
You could totally do that. Or you just put a wah-wah on your board.
That's true,
and
yeah.
just leave it flat and just all the way down,
There
ready
you
to go. So, but yeah, that's the basic functionality behind it and the basic uses behind it. Everybody I know that's gotten a T5Z that uses it for any length of time finds reasons to use the guitar.
Right.
One thing that I didn't mention that I'm sure that you can understand is it's great for the home recordist.
Right.
Because you don't need the bike rack of guitars next to you.
That's true.
When you're putting down scratch tracks or coming up with ideas. You could just have, this guitar and like a Kemper or an Axe-Fx or a Helix or something like that.
Even for like a travel recording rig, that's a great use.
Yeah, for people that are on the road.
A MacBook Pro, an interface, and one of these, you know?
Yep, and just some plugins, and you have a nice day. So it's really, really functional. It's very versatile. It's easy to play.
Yep. It's
and
compact.
Compact and gives you just a ton of tone. And you asked this question before we went on camera, what does it get strung up with? Because I get that question a lot too. What strings do you put on a T5Z? And we actually put 11 gauge Elixir electric strings. Now, some would say, well, I really want more of the acoustic sound.
Right.
Can I put bronze strings on it? You can, but you need to change the saddle. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that.
Right.
The difference in tonality is not going to be so much different that you're going to feel good about it.
Yeah, since it is mainly the sensor and the magnetic neck pickup doing the work, right? Now that we've run through the functionality and some of the history of the T5Z, what different flavors are available to us?
Well, it's a great question because we actually do have something for everybody, no matter what your budget is or what your what your desire is in appointments. So let's start with the beginning. We have the T5Z Classic. Now, this is going to be a mahogany top Sapele bowl version of the T5Z, which, by the way, every one of these guitars is going to be a Sapele back.
I see.
Okay,
all solid tops.
And all solid tops, yes. But starting with the T5Z Classic, that's going to be a mahogany top guitar, all satin finish. But then we also have T5Z Classic exotic tops. We actually have T5Z Classic Sassafras, T5Z Classic Koa, and T5Z Classic Rosewood. So each of those is going to give you a little extra nicety, different top, slightly different tonality overall. Very similar though, but slightly different. And they just look cool. Then next up from that, we have the T5Z Classic Deluxe. So that'll be a mahogany top, but it's going to have a shaded edge burst finish and all gloss on the entire instrument. Next up from that would be the T5Z Standard. Now these guitars are going to have a spruce top, so the acoustic side of things will sound a bit more authentic. But that doesn't mean that the electric side is going to sound bad, just that the acoustic side is going to sound a bit more authentic. Then we have the T5Z Pro, which Garrett and I are actually holding right here. They're flame maple or quilt maple tops, depending on the model that you get. We have a quilted top on our molasses burst version. This is a Borrego red, and this is a Pacific blue, and we have several other colors in the T5Z Pro. But again, being a maple top, that's going to have more of an electric guitar response on sections 2 through 5. But your acoustic side will just be a little bit brighter, much like a maple sides and back acoustic guitar. And then we have the T5z Custom, which is going to be a Coatop.
Right.
Now, in the Classic and in the Custom, we have 12-string variants as well.
Nice.
So you can get that jangly, everything from the Byrds to, to the Eagles.
Right.
Any sort of flight-based band, you'll be able to play their music.
Right. Acoustic and electric.
Acoustic and electric,
Right.
exactly. So, but as far as, here's the great part about it, no matter which T5z you go with, the functionality is exactly the same.
Across the whole line.
Across the whole line. They all have the same electronics, perform the same functions.
Right.
So the question for you as the player is, what's going to look best on me, right?
That's an important question.
Yeah, because, again, we're guitarists, we have egos, and we want to look good. So that's basically it. Again, every single one of these guitars is going to have the same functionality. They all may sound a little bit different because they have different tops.
Yep.
But you just got to find the appointment suite that works for you.
Yep. And we have all these in stock at themusiczoo.com, so check them out.